here in the town from Colony Street down up to Main Street, bringing fun and colour to the town through the painting of ESB mini pillar boxes, for the provision of window boxes to town residents and businesses, wildflower gardens in urban open areas, landscaping of the new inner relief road, which was built a couple of years ago, better signage on the approach roads to the town to direct visitors from the bypass to come into the town centre, further annual spring clean-ups with local and national organisations, and engaging with local resident associations and town centre businesses to further develop the annual estate award scheme. As you can see, Cavan Town is a town working together with a plan to make it more attractive, more inviting, more accessible, a better place to live, and a better place for business. Thank you.
So that was Tony Prunty. The second speech was from Daniel Downey, local community worker, and this is what he had to say about our beloved Cavan Town.
Thank you, Tony. Next we'll have Daniel Downey, one of our local community development workers and the head of our Cavan PPA.
Thank you very much for coming here this evening, and I've been given the pleasure of talking about community and community involvement, what it means to be part of the community of Cavan Town here today. As we've already heard, Cavan was formed not as a town of conquest or plantation, but as a home founded on markets. Markets mean trade, and trade means peace, plenty and progress. Home to over 10,000 people, this town has been my home for 36 years, and I'm proud to call it my home. I'm a community development worker based here in Cavan, and we can just as surely call this a community town as one of enterprise and business. Partnerships are key to the growth of towns and villages into homes for people, not just places where they live. See, that's the difference between a home and a house. Cavan Town excels in these partnerships and in making a homely feel for those who reside here, those who visit, and indeed the many visitors who have stayed to settle. The very first community project I was involved here in Cavan was the development of the Green Lock Park between here and the town centre. For me, it was an inspiration as a newly returned member of the diaspora, unemployed and eager to seek involvement in the area after many years' absence abroad. I watched as the council engineers drew up their plans, collaborating with resident associations. We worked with local businesses and political representatives to make what was scrap ground a living, vibrant and beautiful picture of the Cavan landscape. These partnerships and the community spirit that came from them led me to volunteer more and more until I found a job in helping these community partnerships, which I still undertake to this day. You see, Cavan has a tendency to do this. It gets under your skin in the most beautiful way possible. One moment you're just off a plane from Australia or Canada or the States, and the next you've fallen in love with the possibilities of this town nestled in an eggs-in-a-basket topography of a drumlin landscape, as my old geography teacher, Tony Prunty, used to describe it. Those partnerships of business, council and community continue to strengthen our locality from the development of 2 community gardens, the welcoming of our new Congolese community, the building of a community radio, a volunteer service, a vibrant award-winning arts group and all the more. And this is only in the last 5 years that I've listed. Partnerships have been key in the successes of incredible flat hostings, tastes of Cavan that grow year on year, the supporting of diverse businesses from crafts and arts, IT and industry, new technologies and agriculture. People provide the trade that is the lifeblood of business, and based on the continued growth of business in Cavan, we can see that people are happy to visit, spend and reside in this lovely town. Other than the many resident associations of Cavan Town, we have active groups to ensure a socially inclusive culture grows and maintains a happy life in this town. A multicultural network with 2 schools for extra tuition, a traveller movement who's not only worked on integration and socially inclusive models, but have the proud claim of setting up the very first traveller men's shed. And we also have another men's shed who have twinned with an Australian men's shed, which is the first twinning in the world. We have age-friendly members such as Bob Gilbert here today, who have ensured and given their excellence in making Cavan Town a place fit to grow old in, a fully accessible town for all. And so it is a town that not only cherishes its historic roots, but it's future-proofing its physical, social and cultural environments for years to come. We are a forward-looking town. We are also a town which is growing not only in numbers, but in diversity. There was a particularly beautiful project the local community banded together to complete last year. and it made me sincerely proud to belong to this community. We recently welcomed several refugee families from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Their journey from the perils of war and insecurity to the green rolling hills of Cavan simply had to be told. Leading the project, Tutu, who is here today, was supported to assemble a team of local people to construct a museum event and display of the journey which was captured in his book, which we have at his table. The coming together of local communities, local businesses and local council to tell their story was not only a lesson in inclusion and welcome, it was also a way we could say to our young people, every person has a story, we should learn each other's stories. And sure enough, the young people took interest in their stories, and schools are now asking to hear and to learn from our newest members of our Cavan family. We agreed today that we'd talk of the many positive elements of Cavan Town. After all, you're the judges, and as Andy says, we should put our best foot forward. There's one element which, of course, we fear and mumble of, and which can't be ignored, and that is Brexit. How it may affect Cavan Town, we don't really know. What impact it might have on business and community, we can only begin to guess as we hear more of soft and hard scenarios. However, we have been a town on a border for many, many years. Being a border county town, we have what you might call somewhat of a frontier attitude, one in which people band together and look after one another. I raise Brexit here today because it's a reality of Cavan's future, but a reality which will present a welcome challenge to this town. We saw our border towns' trains melt away in the 50s, and we continue to grow. We endured downward turns in the 80s which led to unbelievable unemployment rates, and we kept on working on making our town a home to love. We have bounced back from the recession and filled the empty shops and returned to the streets with renewed confidence. So we are confident Cavan will meet this new challenge and maintain its growth, positivity and community spirit. Soft or hard, this Brexit will not diminish a town as resilient and sustainable as Cavan Town. On your tour of Cavan, you'll see many highlights of our home. The green leafy beauty of Consmith Park, the little village of Castle Manor Nursing Home, the Green Lake Park and more. But behind each of these are layers of brilliance in the design. We put deep thought into our planning and our building. Consmith Park boasts the intergenerational encounters of age-friendly fitness aspects with teenage skaters in the nearby skate park integrated into the park. Castle Manor's buildings within host dance, craft, storytelling classes and a wide range of activities for all our communities to engage with the residents there. And the Greenlock Park teams with undisturbed wildlife and biodiversity in an intelligent design that allows the park to be a human bubble in a veritable nature reserve instead of nature being a simple tokenistic part of the park. And yet, there are so many other things we wish you could see, but we can't because we only have you for a limited amount of time. There's a 7-year-old fair green garden, which traveller, settled, South African, Congolese, Polish, but all Cavanese come together twice per week to work on. We'd love to have you laugh at the Father Ted Fun Quiz, where young and old come together to support our local So Sad. We'd love to sit you down for one of the many plays and exhibitions in the century-old Town Hall art space, where our inspiring artists toil on new and fresh ideas every day of the week. Or come to the Bridge Street Party, where local businesses host musicians to a drumathon or a folk dance-off. You see why we use the tagline, "This is Cavan." It's because Cavan has a myriad variety of community activities to offer everyone. It can't be pinned down to any one thing. And that variety can only happen, as I've said before, through partnerships. And these partnerships are working and will continue to work, making Cavan Town a home for everyone. If you want to know if Cavan is a worthy place, just bear this in mind. I once worked for MasterCard Australia and the UN in Asia, but I chose to come back here, not because it's my home, but because it's the one place I've heard all my foreign friends visiting say, Cavan feels homely. It welcomes you and you like the feel of it. You want to stay. There must be something to this town to have that effect on my South African friends, my American friends, who come here and stay. Or the 2 Polish artists who are right now doing a project in Cavan's waterways because they said they love the place called Cavan. It's a place you can fall in love with because from a community point of view, it's a place where you can belong. It's a place that looks after you. Whether you're a tourist, a migrant, a native, or a passerby, there's always a place for you in Cavan and you'll be well looked after. I just want to thank you all for coming here and taking your time to visit us, and I hope your tour of our town is both welcoming and happy for you. We'll only be sad to see you leave, but ready to welcome you back any time you return with your friends or family. Welcome to our businesses, our community, our town, and our home. May you feel just as home here as we do. So thank you very much.
So that was Daniel talking about the community. And the final speech was about commerce, and here's Eugene Greenan of Cavan Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Andy. I suppose, first of all, just express that Eddie Coleman, the President of the Chamber of Commerce, could be here today, and after an elaborate process, or not so elaborate, I was honoured to be chosen to present today. I'm just back from a very exhausting business trip in France, and my voice is quite choked, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me and listen to me today. My French wasn't so good, so hopefully you can understand me better today than the business people I was with. One of the best things about coming last is that the previous speakers cover a lot of what you were going to say, or at least that's the excuse I'm going to use. And it's an honour to come after these two speakers, and I'm also a past student of Tony's as well, so he's educated Cavan well, so he has, and thanks. So I'm going to focus more on the business side of things, and as Andy mentioned, Cavan is a medieval past, and I suppose from a business sense, the deep roots of Cavan is very much of a market town where everything was for sale on the streets, from livestock you got. And even today, you can still see the reminiscence of that by street names such as the Bullock Lane, the Hot Hill, it's the Market Square. It's all still there, and it all drifts down from those days of market town. And that's developed today into a scenario where pretty much any good or service that you wish you need, you can source in Cavan town. There's no need for you to venture outside of Cavan town for 99% of your needs. Is a strong track record and history of sole traders, and the sole traders are the individuals who built the employment and the wealth, or deemed wealth in the town at least. And we have a number of long-established sole traders, and I promised that I wouldn't start listing off examples because you'll always leave that one person out. But as I look down at St. Paul Conley from Conley Brothers, that's a long-established shop on Main Street in Cavan, and we're lucky that we have many long-established retailers on the Main Street who provided a lot of business and employment to the town over the years. We also have a history of large employers in the town, and McCarran's factory is based very close to the town centre, and that's a renowned family business that goes back well over 100 years and has provided much employment over the years in the town. It has been noted that many of the sole traders have competed and outlasted many of the large chain retailers that have come into the town in more recent decades and in the business parts of the town. And that has helped us maintain a very vibrant town centre of independent retailers offering multiple services and goods, rather than just your 4 or 5 high street retailers dominating the market. But we are quite fortunate that we do have key retailers on our Main Street, which helps the town develop and the core town centre to remain vibrant. We've done stores and Tesco's right on our Main Street, which is quite unique for a modern town these days. And the Chamber of Commerce and other organisations have I suppose, pleaded and campaigned that remain the case for as long as possible. It's also beneficial that all of our banks and financial institutes are located on the Main Street. So we were very fortunate that the core of everything is based in the centre of town, which creates a great hub to work from. Cavan, I suppose, in more recent years, and it goes much further back than that, but really with the taste of Cavan really come to the fore. That we have a long history in the food and hospitality business. I suppose we look today in the Cavan Crystal Hotel, we've got the Radisson Hotel, we've got the Hotel Kilmore. We've a rich infrastructure of hotels and conference spaces, and all you have to do is go downstairs and you see the number of events that are on here today. Cavan Town's a great attraction and central location for conferences and get-togethers. We've also developed into a number of boutique cafes, and I think you might get a flavour for some of those later in the town, and also some of the high-quality restaurants that we have in Cavan have become known to have. And it's delightful to hear that we're going to finish up at 5 o'clock in the Oak Room, because any excuse to go to the Oak Room is fantastic, so look forward to that. From a services sector, as you know, a stone's throw from here is the former Quinn Insurance Building and Quinn Empire, and that I suppose provided thousands of jobs, and obviously we know what happened subsequent to that. But we have to look at the opportunities of what came from that, and there was a number of high-skilled insurance professionals left Quinn and took multiple roles in other insurance companies. And Cavan is, from a service viewpoint, surely ranks highest in terms of employment in the insurance sector. We've got